Good evening, everyone. How you doing? Welcome to Fourth and Goal, starring your host, Drew Brewer. We got my man Andre Williams and my boy Worthington Moore. And let's go get it started right away. I feel about how y'all boys feel about Steph Curry and the Warriors. You know, Steph is so far the only person that's really, putting the Warriors on his shoulders, putting it on his back. You know, Klay Thompson was hurt, so he wasn't able to play for the season. And even after the season with KD leaving, going to the Nets, you know, the Warriors have not really been the same since. So it's how y'all feel about that? What's going on with
it? Saying that are they wasting Steph Curry? I don't want to say that it's a waste. Are they as good as are the Warriors as good as with Steph Curry as they was like a couple of years ago? No. Right now, currently they're number 9 in the Western Conference. So it is. Again, they're not as good as what they could be. But I mean, you know, I think it is what it is. I feel like everybody, especially like to me, Steph Curry is like to the Warriors is like what LeBron was to the Cavaliers. Like even there was a stint where LeBron being on the Cavaliers, they wasn't doing so hot. But I mean, eventually they got back to it. So I feel like, you know, they're gonna get better eventually. It may not be this season, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, it really is crazy to see how much the NBA has changed within these last few seasons. I remember just like it was 2018, no, it was 2019. Golden State Warriors were in the finals. They're playing off against Toronto. I was like, frick, not again. Are we really seeing the Golden State Warriors in the finals again? I felt like this was something that was like a story that never ended because we'd seen the Warriors in the finals like for instance like 2015. In 2015 I just started high school, and then by the time that I'm ending high school, I'm starting off to going to college. They're still in the finals and they're still that good, and it kind of seems unfair. And I remember, you know, because I'm a Houston Rockets fan. We had a whole thing on the last episode, but I'm a Houston Rockets fan, and I remember just, you know, thinking to myself, oh man, if we could just get past those Warriors, if we could just get past them, because we're basically going against the East. So everybody knows about the West dominance in this past decade over East teams when it comes to the finals. I think that the only East teams that have won it all is Kawhi's Raptors and LeBron James Cavaliers, LeBron James Heat, and I think that's pretty much it. And so I was just thinking to myself, if we could only get past these Warriors, and then we could, you know, actually, you know, have an NBA championship for the first time since Michael Jordan was out of the NBA playing baseball. And I was thinking, yes, this is our golden opportunity. But, you know, those Golden State Warriors with Steph Curry, with KD when they added him, and Draymond Green with Klay, it was just unfair. And now to see them right now, it really is kind of sad to think, because you know the sort of circumstances that have been plaguing this team. Like I said before, it all starts with that 2019 championship. KD, he wasn't able to play as much as he could have. Klay was dealing with ACL, Achilles, something like that injury. So it's kind of like people on the back of their minds are thinking, okay, if the Golden State Warriors had everyone, if they actually had everyone, they would have won the chip that year. And it's just been a spiraling descent ever since then. Last season, you basically had D'Angelo Russell just be your basic main star. I like D'Angelo Russell, but I'm not saying that that's who the Golden State Warriors are. The Golden State Warriors are Steph Curry. They're Klay Thompson. They're Draymond Green. And, you know, even though they have Steph, even though they have Draymond, they really need, you know, someone else who can help out Steph, and that person is Klay. And it's kind of sad to see that, you know, how much, you know, stars can fall down. It really says much more about the West itself, that the Western Conference, it's changed, and it's changed just dramatically. Where once the Houston Rockets, the Golden State Warriors were at the top, now they're not. It really is just a sad state of affairs to see Steph Curry ninth. If you're having Steph Curry on your team and you're ninth, you barely out of the playoff contention. I feel as if that's a waste.
Well, you gotta understand too, the Western Conference is the toughest conference in the NBA. So
It is,
I mean,
undoubtedly.
it is. It's like you got the Lakers, you got the Clippers, you got the Nuggets, you got the Utah Jazz, who is now the number one in the Western Conference. You got all these tough teams that you're going up against. That it's hard for, somebody when you don't have that star talent to help you out with, to actually help you get to where you need to be. And with it just being Steph, I mean, we all seen when KD was there, it wasn't Steph's team anymore. It was KD's team. Because when KD got hurt, what happened? They folded. And it's sad to say, but I mean, if you think about the Warriors, they've had when they started actually doing really good, they've always had a pretty stacked team to where they had Draymond Green, they had Andrew Bogut, they had Klay Thompson, they had Andre Iguodala, they had Barnes. They had people that was really been in the league and know their stars, their own stars on opposite teams. So for Steph to still be with the Warriors, that shows his commitment to the team, that he's really trying to help rebuild it. And, it sucks that they have been dealing with injuries. They've been dealing with the new roster changes over the last couple of years. So it's just a real tough debate for if Steph is being wasted. I feel that Steph still has enough time to really get the team together. I don't think he's going to leave anytime soon. And especially with Klay being hurt, when Klay comes back, I'm pretty sure the Warriors will be a more playoff contender. I mean, it's not over yet. They still have a chance to be it. I mean, only 8 teams from each conference can be in the playoffs, and they're number 9th, and the only team that's above them is the Grizzlies. So, I mean, and their win totals are the same, even though they're 2 games behind in the losses. But just for that being said, with them boys really trying to get, if they really want this, I'm pretty sure Steph is going to get them to where they need to be.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention the whole play-in. Does that's for the 8 seed? So they have the 8, the 9, the 10, the 11. Do those sort of teams like play in it, or is it just the 8th and the 9th seed play in?
How the playoffs work is the 1 through 8 seeds play in the playoffs. And then they'll have the first team, the number 1 team will play that number 8 team, number 2 will play number 7, and so on and so forth. And they keep going until they have the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference finals. Yeah. So there's still.
I mean, I get all that, but like with last year, we saw that there is this whole thing where they had, I think it was either the 8 through 11 seed. I do remember them having like some sort of play, and that's what I'm referring to, because there was this like whole push like that was on it. That was because of COVID?
The reason they did that was because of COVID. So what they did was the teams that were having a somewhat winning season, they allowed to come to the bubble. So that's why you saw, so there was more, because if you looked at there was more teams from the West than there was from the East, because the West had a more winning percentage. That's why. And the teams that were playing, like the Blazers, the Suns, they were trying to get into the playoffs. So it was really just, everybody was just trying to get it. They didn't want to have too many teams because of COVID, and that's when COVID was really new and relatively going on and stuff like that. So they just wanted to get the teams for sort of the 1 through 8, but at least for the West and the East too, at least the 9, 10, 11, just those that had a winning season to help them get to where they needed to be if they wanted to get to the playoffs.
Got you.
After that, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back. And we will have a question. Do you think the Bucs will come back and win the championship again? Find out after the break.
At Prairie View A&M University, we've been igniting passion in students for more than 140 years. It's about inspiration. It's about global influence. It's about self-expression and individuality. It's about trailblazing a path of excellence. It's about engaging in the greater community. Above all, it's about helping you realize your dreams. Ignite your passion. Experience Prairie View A&M University.
Prairie View A&M University is about the students. Students don't just come here for the education. They come for the faculty, for the creativity, the camaraderie, an excellent standard of living, and the school spirit. They come here to gain something profound and to give something back. Students come for the tradition of excellence. This is Prairie View A&M University. Our tradition, your opportunity.
And we're back. Thank you to another episode of Fourth and Goal with your host, Drew Brewer, Andre Williams, and Worthington Moore. So, the Bucs, NFC champions, Super Bowl champions, Tom Brady, Antonio Brown, Gronk, all these players coming in. Do you think they have a chance to win the Super Bowl again?
I'll be real. I'm just tired of Tom Brady. I don't want to seem like a hater. I'm just tired of Tom Brady. I'll be for real. Funny thing is, the last team, if we're talking about winning the Super Bowl again, the last team to do that, what was it that the Patriots in 2004, I think?
I think so.
Wasn't Tom Brady the quarterback? So, I mean, if anybody would do it, it would be him. But it's just like, I don't know. He's just one of those people, kind of like when you talk about unfair. Like, I'm just like, he always up there. I'm like, can we just get somebody else? And then at the same time, I just feel like at this point he's a legacy act. Sometimes I feel like when it comes to the refs and stuff like that, he be getting passes, But like I said, if anybody would be able to do it, it probably would be Tom Brady. So I just don't want to see him do it. I don't want to see him there. You can call me a hater, but that's how I feel.
GOAT, man. He the GOAT. You got to think, like, the times that he did win with the Super Bowl with the Patriots, they actually had a nice, decent squad. They had Edelman, they had Cooks, they had people that was actually good. So the reason why he had left in the first place is because he didn't have the receivers he wanted anymore. Gronk had left. A lot of their receivers were gone. So it's like you go over to the Bucs, you got Mike Evans. But you go like that's dangerous. Mike Evans and Tom Brady, that's a dangerous mix. Then you go add Antonio Brown and that's even dangerous. Then Gronk decides, because my boy going to the Bucs, I'm gonna go to the Bucs even though I retired. So I'm gonna come out of retirement. And you got Goodwin, all these people, all these receiving core, like the Bucs defense is straight, And Bruce Arians did a good job. He knew what he was doing. He got damn near a whole black coaching staff. Black coaches know what to do when it comes to playing sports. There's no mean for error when it comes to that. So, at the end of the day, that's tough because like we said before, the AFC has always been hard because Tom Brady has been with the Patriots. And everybody always assumed because Tom Brady's with the Patriots, they go win no matter what. Well, now the AFC is being run by the Chiefs. And that's a situation that, and honestly, if it were to come down to it, I feel like the Chiefs should have won that game. And the reason I feel that is because if you think about it, the whole game, Pat had no blocking. Like, he had no time to set his feet. He had no time to get his receivers open, nothing like that. The whole line was a bunch of backups because there were so many injuries during the season that a lot of the starters from the beginning of the season didn't even play in that game. So, you can't really blame Pat. He did the best that he could. It's just they was prepared for that boy. But at the same time, it really should have been the Packers that won because I watched the Packers and Bucs game, and they kind of hold the Packers a little bit. I'm not even going to lie to you. So, I don't know but too much about that one. But what I do know is that it's going to be a real tough decision. It's cool that the Bucs, they got everybody coming back. Tom Brady coming back, Gronk coming back, Brown coming back, Fournette coming back. They got pretty much the whole team is coming back. So I feel like they still will be a contender. They still will be a problem in the NFC. But you also got to think, like, the NFC one of the hardest. They just like the Western Conference in the NBA. So you got all these boys. You got the Seahawks. You got even though the Seahawks might lose Russell Wilson. He's expressing he don't even want to be there no more. So it's like it's gonna be a difficult, hard to say. I feel like yes, they will be in the playoffs again. Will they win the Super Bowl again? I'm not too sure about that, but I can't never bet against Tom Brady because that is just Tom Brady. That's my opinion. You can't bet against that man.
Definitely. I'll say this one thing. So whenever it was, during the regular season, I remember whenever I actually watched this game, the Buccaneers were facing off against the Saints. The Saints absolutely stomped on them. The final result of the game was 38-3. And I'm like, oh my goodness, are the Buccaneers really like this overrated? Like they couldn't stop them on defense. They couldn't really put up any points on offense. So I'm like, okay, yeah, Tom Brady, he's washed. He's done. He's tried this new experiment out in Tampa Bay. It's not going to work. And then you see him go throughout the playoffs, and it's playoff Tom. Like I admit, I'm kind of, as a kid, I liked the New England Patriots because they were always winning. Now it's like they're winning too much. It's like whenever Tom Brady was leaving the New England Patriots, and his destination is Tampa Bay, you think, okay, well, which one is going to, will it be him, Bill Belichick, the head coach of the New England Patriots, that wins us out, or will it be Tom Brady? That was one of the whole things that was sort of one of the storylines to follow in the NFL season. And then once Tom Brady goes to the Super Bowl, he wins it all. It's kind of like, okay, well, we really see that the true mastermind behind all of this, behind their success, wasn't really, head coach Bill Belichick. It was really Tom Brady. And I think that right now, I mean, it really is kind of unfair. You don't really have super teams like they have in the NBA, but right now I feel as if there really is one super team in the NFL, it's got to be Tampa Bay. In free agency, they pretty much didn't let anyone go, and they basically re-signed everyone that was important to them on both sides of the ball. Gronk, is coming back. I believe that they got Shaq Barrett on the defensive line. He's coming back. Just all these assets. They didn't lose much. Like they're basically getting everyone back, and everyone who is coming back. They decide, okay, I'm not going to sign for as much as I could and go to somewhere else and get as much money as I know I can get. They basically said, okay, I'm going to lower my value. I'm going to stay here where I think that I will get another chip, and it's all because of Tom Brady. And the most amazing thing is that a year ago, even before Tom Brady came to Tampa Bay, they had arguably one of the most wishy-washy quarterbacks in the history of NFL, and Jameis Winston, as their quarterback. Their defense was solid, but it was their quarterback. You plug Tom Brady in, the defense is so good, the offense just takes another step, and boom, Super Bowl. And it's kind of like, oh my goodness, this is what they needed all along. And I think that is pretty much speaks to Tom Brady. You just put him in as a quarterback to an already good team, and he just elevates them that much more.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, like I said, you can't bet against Tom. That's playoff Tom. He know what he's doing. But what I will say is that, shout out to that boy Quentin Bell, PVU out there doing the thing, getting the Super Bowl for the school. They're getting the hey man. And shout out to all them other HBCU players. That's the other thing I can say. The Bucs did have a lot of HBCU players that played. And I know them boys. Appreciate y'all boys. Congratulations to y'all boys. And with that being said, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll come right back. Stay tuned.
Even though there is so much against us,
you will see me choose to protect myself and my community from the coronavirus by wearing a face covering.
Because it's going to take all of us thinking about one another.
And even with my face covered, you will see me.
You will see me as a mother, a wife, a friend.
As an athlete who gave everything to the game I love.
As a father, leading by example.
As a sister.
An entertainer.
As a champion for my people.
You will see me finding a light in a dark time.
To unlock our creativity and push our craft.
You will see me demanding the space to tell the stories that matter.
As a man who knows that tough times don't last, but tough people do.
Join us in wearing a face covering to help stop the spread of the coronavirus.
Because covering your face is one small act of kindness that has the power to bring us together.
And welcome back. For our last segment, we got one more question for y'all boys. So, do you think there's too many technical calls being called in the NBA?
Oh man, absolutely. And I think this is, it really is a problem. And I guess I didn't really notice it as much before, but I'm on YouTube a lot. I see, Bleacher Reports. I see House of Highlights. I see YouTube channels like that just putting out things like person X, like DeAndre Jordan gets a technical foul for throwing, the ball to a referee. And at first you think, okay, this is clickbait. Then you watch the video. It's 30 seconds. Then you watch an entirety, and it's like, oh my goodness, they actually got a tech for that? Are you kidding me? It's like, what are these, referees able to get with nowadays? Because you kind of have to compare it with now versus then. Like back then and the Jordan era, and like even before that, way before that. But I'm kind of like referring to that sort of part of basketball. Like back then, they could you basically elbow each other in the face. People are bleeding out the side of their ears. People wouldn't necessarily get a technical. They would get a flagrant, but they wouldn't get a technical for that, or to the same degree that they are now. And it's absolutely ridiculous. It's kind of like you can't do simple things that you would have done before. I remember seeing this one video in particular. Montrezl Harrell, he was driving to the basket. He gets the bucket and he yells "and one" because he thought it was a foul. And the referee took offense to that, and they gave him a tech. And I'm like, what? He's yelling "and one." That has been a staple of basketball for a very long time, and he gets a technical foul for this. So I think that the NBA referees, they should take note of exactly, okay, this is obviously a problem. This is driving away viewers from the game of basketball. If we have to actually pause our game to, give a technical to someone who's doing something, as common as breathing. I mean, it's honestly getting ridiculous, the level to which people are just getting technicals. I mean, usually you get a technical foul for something serious, but now you can get a technical foul for breathing. And if I see that in the next video, I will make sure to tell you guys, and I will make sure that the NBA knows, because we all watch basketball. We're their fans, and they should be listening to us a lot on this point.
What do you say about that, Andre?
Yeah, I'm trying to find a way how to put this. Like, do they get handed out a lot? Yeah, it's a yes or no. I feel like, yeah, like stuff like, okay, if you shout out, can I get an N1? That's too much. But I feel like at the same time, like, I feel like we're just noticing it more now, especially when it comes to players who purposely do stuff to try to get the other players get the technical foul. It's just like we done caught on to the game now. Like, we see what you're trying to do. So now it's kind of like, at first, like back in the day, how we used to all make fun of it and think that it's funny. But now it's just like, okay, bro, like, he just barely bumped you. Now you're on the floor rolling around, acting like you done broke a collarbone just so you could get your shot. And it's like, bro, like, we see what you're doing. And I feel like it, like, if we're talking about technical fouls being too much, I feel like situations like that is being used too much. I feel like players are trying to use that to their advantage to get ahead. That's what I think of when I think of it being them being handed out too much.
Yeah, like Worthington said, back in the day, they used to be fighting, like full-fledged fighting. Like that was basketball. Even nowadays, like calling even just a pickup game, you call a foul off some little stuff, it's like, bro, come on now, it's not that serious. So it's like, I feel like sometimes nowadays, just how the society is moving, how everything has changed, everything is more sensitive, so everything is taken more to heart, and it's like, you gotta learn to take certain things, like, it's not that serious. Like, giving out all these technicals for no reason over them talking back, like, y'all, they men at the end of the day. Y'all both grown men. Like, you gotta stand up and be a man, and they can't get a man a technical just because you don't feel like he agreed with certain saying certain things about something that you don't like. So I mean, it's just different. Like, they used to be ham. Like, if you watch any game from the 90s, some of them even from the early 2000s and up. They was fighting each other, man. They had fighting the refs. They was fighting fans. I'll never forget one game, Jeremiah O'Neal went into the stands and during the game and started fighting a fan out of nowhere just because a fan threw some popcorn on him. And he went up there and they started fighting like the whole game, and like he had to get out and stuff like so. Like that's the type of stuff. It's like the same with the NFL. There's certain things in the NFL now that's not the same as the old NFL. Like I understand the hitting a defensive player. I play football. I play both sides of the ball. I love the hit, but I do not like getting knocked out when I don't see it coming. That's just me personally, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to keep me scared and I'm not going to keep playing. So it's like at the end of the day, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, whatever sport, these men signed up. These men know what they're getting themselves into. At the end of the day, they're still men that's playing the game that everybody loves, and that just shows you the passion of how much they love that game. So, yeah, emotions do fly, emotions do come out, and you just got to be able to accept that. All these random technicals for stuff that doesn't make sense, like you getting mad, like just certain things, like players drawing at each other and arguing with each other. That's basketball. I don't know not one person that does not do that. I do that. When we play a game, I'm talking mess. Like that gives the fire, that shows the passion of how you love that sport, how you love that game. So for them to be doing that, it's like you doing too much, and y'all gotta stop being so sensitive, really, because it's not that serious. It's just a game at the end of the day. Simple.
Which I agree, but at the same time, to play devil's advocate, you also got to think about the business side. And even though, not even just basketball, but sports in general, it was popular back in the day, but more so now, this is more of a business. These players are liabilities, so you can't just go into the stands and try to fight a fan, because guess what? They're gonna sue, and they're not gonna sue the player. Who they gonna sue? They're gonna sue. So then the team money and stuff like that, or even if a player gets injured and stuff like that on the field for being too rough, who you think got to pay for that? Not the person who knocked him over, not the person who knocked him over. The team got to do that. So I think probably more so today, it's more of a money thing, and people not trying to lose their bag for people acting out and stuff like that, because they don't care who you are. If they think they're gonna lose money, they're gonna tax you, and they're gonna get you out of there.
So with that being said, I'm gonna ask you this. I agree with you, but then also the fans gotta understand that you can't just do certain things because you think you go sue them. Like for instance, you got fans out here cussing out players like on the sideline, calling them out their name, calling them this and that, throwing stuff at them, doing that stuff like that. You think your man really gonna sit there and let you do that to him? Nah. So it's like you can't be, man. You can't do something and expect no repercussion.
Because if you throw something at me or you curse me out, I'm finna knock you out. But at the same time, in the back of my mind, you also got to realize you got something to lose. Those people don't. They're going to do whatever to come after your bag. So if you think that one person cussing you out and you think you're going to do whatever you want to do, that's fine. You could do that. That's your right. But I'm telling you, they're going to come. Matter of fact, perfect solution. They should put some. You need to sign a waiver when you come to the games. No heckling. This, that, and the third. Because if anything happens, that's on you.
But see, that's the thing, man. You look like it's cool for the fans to heckle and cry like that, this and that. But when you start throwing stuff at people, you start throwing stuff on the court. Now you putting players in liability for the simple fact that it's like it's a danger to them, and it's just that's a lot. That's a lot of discussion to talk about. I ain't even go cap. But it looks like that's all the time that we have for today. Thank you for those that have tuned in. This has been a great little topic to start off that's going on. And tune in next Tuesday. We'll be talking about happiness on the hill. I'm your host, Drew Brewer, with my boy Andre Williams and my boy Worthington Moore. And it's a good receive. It's time to go.